Good morning, everybody. My name is William Morrissey. I will be presenting the final briefing for H.R. 5216, the Connecticut River Watershed Partnership Act. I'd like to direct your attention to the picture behind as a little bit of a symbol from our transition from summer into fall. That is a picture taken from the shores of our river, the Connecticut River. I'd like to thank my team. Specifically Professor Howard Apson for being our faculty advisor and Elisa Rosen for being our project manager. I've had a really nice time helping manage and working with this team over the semester. Our bill does two primary things. It sets up a partnership between 5 different states. That's Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. And it also provides money for restoration and conservation practices. Through the semester, I've taken you through the inputs, processes, outputs, and outcomes of our bill. Those are our solutions, our metrics, and our results, all with the goal of restoring our watershed. But I want to remind us of the problems our watershed faces. We've categorized these into 3 different categories: land use change, industrial discharge, and agricultural runoff. Land use change and urbanization provides more impervious surfaces. This puts pressure on our stormwater facilities, which can lead into combined sewer systems like the ones in Hartford and Springfield, both on the main stem of our river, and can overflow and discharge raw sewage into our river. Industrial discharge leach harmful chemicals like heavy metals and PCBs into the river, which bioaccumulate. That phytoplankton and benthic algae assimilate those harmful chemicals into their body and get eaten up and up the food chain until it hits the apex predator, that northern pike, and sometimes your dinner table. Agricultural runoff leaches excess nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus into the water, which we know leads to harmful algal blooms. Those blooms die or get eaten by phytoplankton, consuming dissolved oxygen and leading to hypoxia or low oxygen areas, killing fish. We've categorized the solutions to our problems in 3 as well: biodiversity, land, and water solutions. I'll take you through the biodiversity solutions first. Habitat connection is extremely important to our watershed. That looks like taking down small dams, derelict dams that are preventing fish passages, or constructing fish ladders so they can get up larger dams that are providing hydroelectric power to our watershed. Invasive species is an extremely hard problem to fix. The top you can see is Didymo, also known as rock snot. Well, now you know why I picked a microscopic picture instead of what it actually looks like as it blankets the stream bed floor, effectively killing macroinvertebrates and things like snails. The bottom left-hand picture are zebra mussels, which incapacitate native mussels, necessary filter feeders for the water quality of our rivers. And the bottom right is a Connecticut River Conservancy invasive species removal project that is cleaning up water chestnut. We'll measure the success of these programs through things like, with metrics like fish assemblage and species richness. Now for our water solutions. Infrastructure needs a desperate upgrade in our watershed. That's the quantity and the capacity for stormwater management facilities, or investment in green infrastructure like the bioswale you see up there. These bioswales can relieve some of the pressure on our stormwater systems by absorbing some of that runoff. Equitable access to safe water is also really important in our bill. As we know, unpotable drinking water affects communities of color and low-income communities far more. So our bill aims to incorporate projects like orthophosphate additions to drinking water, which will prevent lead leaching. And we can measure this in a number of ways, including discharge, lead concentrations, and pH levels. Finally, our land solutions, we've highlighted floodplain restorations and riparian buffer restorations. Floodplain restorations are when you remove legacy sediments, which is sediments built up over time, returning an area to its original and historic floodplain elevation, or bringing the stream bed up. And what this does is it slows water down. That lets it percolate into the soils, naturally filtering pollutants, and also mitigating some flood impacts. Riparian buffers, the roots in the riparian buffers can also trap sediments, preventing erosion, and take up those excess nutrients that I just talked about. And we can measure this through dissolved oxygen content from those prevented algal blooms, water temperature from the shade in the riparian buffer, and suspended sediment concentrations. But they're not without their controversies. Invasive species, I said, is a hard problem, and our bill does promote the access either recreationally, for angling, or for commercialism, to our various water bodies in our watershed. Some say that that will introduce invasive species into habitats they are not already in. For example, the hydrilla right there is very easily transferred because it reproduces through fragmentation. Expectations also need to be managed when thinking about restoration projects. Short-term economic or environmental costs may give stakeholders pause, but our bill is aimed at long-term incremental progress. And priorities, whether you prioritize forest canopy or hydrology for flood mitigation, we need to make sure those are managed when thinking about restoration as well. Now I'll take you through our case study, the Fenwick Living Shoreline Project in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. As you can see in the middle of the picture, this area has been eroded away over years and years of flood events and storm events. Climate change has risen sea levels and made those storms more frequent and more impactful, and restoration is necessary, especially due to the encroaching upon that Crab Creek you can see running straight through. If Crab Creek was hydrologically connected to the sound in the front, it would connect it to our river in the back and make this whole peninsula much more easily eroded. And that would impact the conserved marshland for migratory bird species like osprey. So what did we do about it? We constructed 9 rock sills. Those are rock piles that help deflect wave energy from eroding away our shores. We moved the stream back and reconstructed a culvert. We also planted 36,000 marsh plugs. That will help infiltration into the ground and some flood mitigation. All in all, we restored 0.4 acres of marshland and 500 linear feet of coastal beach. As you can see here, in just 1 year, the dunes were constructed much higher and more robust to prevent floods. More rock sills were constructed and the stream was moved back. That vegetation is also already reclaiming its place. And this is what our bill is about. It's about giving money to ecological processes and projects to restore the watershed, but not just for the osprey, not just for the pike, but for the people who live in these houses or who play on the golf course or who just want to see the lighthouse at the end of the peninsula. Thank you very much.